Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to the next in the series of the personal year numbers with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. With that said, if you want to find out how to calculate your own personal year number, it will be a different vibration depending on the year that you are in. You can check that out. There's a link floating around somewhere above my head where you can check that out. There's also, I'm going through the process of posting these consecutively, so please bear with me while I get to your number. With that said, let's delve into the personal year number 4. So, personal year number 4 is an interesting one because it is about building a solid foundation. So what is the tagline for the number 4 personal year? I build. This is the year where you build things. It's the year where you lay the foundations in order for you to build anything that you should so choose to build. This is the number of divine order. So for each type of divinity, or rather for each personal number, I've given it a specific aspect of divinity. The number 4 is all about divine order. This is about systems, effort. It's about structure. It's about organization. It's about finding your power through routine. This number, a lot of people say this number is ruled by Uranus, but I don't subscribe to that. It doesn't feel right to me. 4 feels like a Saturnian number. So I attribute, I attribute the number 4 to the number to Saturn. Right, it has a very Saturnian energy to it. So let's have a look at this, right? Let's break it down into your blessings and lessons that you're going to probably be experiencing, coming up against, or working through or on throughout your personal year number 4. So organized. This year you will want to, even if you're naturally a bit more erratic, especially like me. I used to live my life through what I call organized chaos. I know exactly where everything is, whereas most people would probably look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that's a mess. But this year you will find yourself feeling frazzled and stressed out if you are not organized. This is the year for you to cross the T's, dot the I's, sort the paperwork, maybe put in place a filing system of sorts, especially if you work for yourself, if you've got your own business. This is the year where getting organized, putting things in their place will be the best thing that you do. It'll be one of the best uses of your energy this year. And the reason being is because that organization, it clears up a lot of space on the internal and, but also in the physical. You will want everything to be just so this year. You might find yourself, your surroundings, you will need to have order around you, even if you're, more of an organized chaos sort of person like myself. I found my order, my routine, all the rest of it through my 4 year, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. So I advise you really to go for it. Steady and calm. This year, even if you're naturally a nervy person, when I say nervy, like, frenetic in your energy, this year you may very well find that you find your own inner calm, you find your own equilibrium, you find your own inner balance and surety and connectedness, and this makes you steady. This year you could be very consistent, you could really show up. Even if you're the sort of person that hasn't necessarily had this energy before, this year is asking you to find this energy within you, and it asks you to express it. The more you work with the blessings of these energies, especially the number 4, the more you work with these blessings, the more you try to incorporate routine into your life, the better it will be for you, the calmer you will feel, the less stressed you will get. As an example, I just had somebody recently ask me the question of, you seem really regimented and really like in your routine, how did you get there? Well, let's factor it in like this. We all have to work, we all have to tend to our ablutions, all the rest of it. Structure your day in the way that you want it, it and see the things that you have to do as part of your routine. Not that something that, you know, this is outside of what I want to do. Factor in that whatever you have to do is a part of your routine, and structure your days in the way that you would like them to happen. By doing so, you will find that sort of inner steady and calmness. And you will find that even this year, things may erupt and happen around you, and you'll just be like at that baseline, which is beautiful. Practical. This year you will be very much in your, you'll want to do things with your hands. You will want to make things. You will want to build things. You might want to put systems in place for saving, for making money, or making multiple income streams. The full year is more a year for you to save, for you to squirrel money away and put it away, or maybe even build some sort of a system or a funnel that allows you to take your money and your savings and start to consistently grow them, so that from here on in, year on year, you start to get good returns. This is a really good year for you to make big money decisions. It's a good year for you to think about it's a really good year for you to think about doing things that are going to be for the long term. Because this energy is very steady, it sees you more of a practical, sane, sort of down-to-earth nature, and you're better able to make those kind of decisions, especially when it comes to money, because you are very practical this year, very down-to-earth. So enduring, right? When we talk about enduring, you could find, even if you've maybe struggled with your energy levels up until this point, your 4 year seems to give you this inner well of energy and resources to draw from. And it's not like a burst of energy, it's like a consistent stream, right? That's one of the other things about this year. You could find this year that you're very consistent, that you're very enduring, that you show up, that you do what you say you're going to do, and your plans are always to see it through to completion. When you talk about enduring as well, this kind of taps into the energy of determination and determined, right? These are two of the two very sort of similar energies, but endurance is about being able to stand the test of time. Determination is about focusing on what it is that you want and seeing that through to completion. This year you could be very determined. It's almost like this year, whatever you set out to do, you get sort of quietly and focused, you get obsessed, but in a quiet and focused way. It's kind of like you say, right, I'm going to hone in on that. That's what I'm going to do, and that's how I'm going to continue to build whatever it is that I want. Energy to complete. This is a really good year. Anything that you want to finish, anything that's hanging over, anything that you think, I've been wanting to finish that for a long time. Your 4 year, the energy is there. You are naturally more inclined to seek out ways to complete things, to close things off, or at least start them in a fashion that will see you being able to complete them at a later date. This is the year for you to build that really strong, firm foundation for the skyscraper to start to really be something, to really do something. Self-sustaining, right? And this comes back to this whole idea of the internal well of energy. This year you could find that you really don't need any help. And for those of you that are partnered, for those of you that work in teams, this can be a little bit it can be a bit of a challenge in this respect, because you don't need anything from anyone. Even if you're the sort of person that usually has work left over at the end of the day that has to go to the next day, in your 4 year, you could find that every single day, not only do you finish what you're doing, but you can start, it's like you'll constantly have the energy to be ahead of yourself, because you will be able to finish everything that you start. And so therefore, it's kind of like this, you get into this sort of rut and this bubble of just being completely self-sustaining. Don't need anyone, don't need anything. And that's a really good thing, because it breeds independence. But if it goes too far, it obviously becomes, it can be quite isolating. So just consider that as the other part of this. Strong, right? Physically, if you look after your health in the 4 year, so if you do your regular exercise, if you drink enough water, if you get enough rest, if you eat really well, if you do those 4 things on a disciplined sort of schedule even, right? And this is the other thing about the number 4. It requires discipline. It wants you to knuckle down. This is why I say it's more Saturnian. Uranian energy for me is about revolution and change and sort of out there, rebellious even, right? Whereas your 4 year wants you to knuckle down and focus it in. It wants you to be disciplined, decisive, determined. These are all very Saturnian energies. So for me, the number 4 is a Saturnian number. Strong, right? Providing you do those 4 things that 4 things that I talked about, your exercise, your water intake, your good food and your good rest. Providing you give your body these 4 things, you will be strong as a bloody ox this year. You could really find that you have this innate sort of sense of, wow, you know what? I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be, right? It's beautiful in that respect. Resilient. This year, you just have this energy and this ability just to keep going, to keep plodding and plodding and plodding, regardless of what comes up for you, right? This is a beautiful year for that kind of energy. It's not the sexiest of years, we have to be honest, right? Because it's all about the hard work, the nitty gritty, getting your hands dirty and, doing the hard work and, getting all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. So in that respect, no, it's not the sexiest of years, but this is a pivotal year. It really is a pivotal year because, and I said this to a lot of people that I've spoken to about their own numerology, if you start the things that you really want to and feel drawn to in your 1 year, and you do what needs to be done properly in your 4 year, the rest of your cycle will be so easy and smooth. All right. So your lessons, things that you might find that are challenges that arise over the course of your 4 year, things that you might need to watch out for. Serious. You could find that you're very serious this year. That you could find yourself, I'm laughing now because I'm like, ooh. You could find this year that you are very serious, that you take everything very seriously, that you have this very sort of, life is a serious business, everything is a serious business. And that's a really good thing because this is time, the 4 year is time for you to slow it down and to start taking life more seriously, to really take stock of what needs to be done, how you're going to get there, what are the plans that you can put in place in order to see things through to completion. But with that comes a lot of weighty sort of energy. And so, you could find yourself being quite serious. Boring. Even if you're usually quite a fun sort of jovial person, you might feel a bit more closed off, possibility to feel a bit more isolated this year for sure. And I talked about that before, but you could find that you're so into this, routine is so sexy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could find yourself like, those are going to be the things that really attract you. People that have got their shit together, right? When it comes to partners, when it comes to potential love interests, you'll be looking at either older people, people that are well put together, people that really have their stuff in order, people that know what they're doing and where they're going in life. You'll be attracted to that kind of person over the course of this year. Single-minded. Now, this is a good thing, but it's also it can be a negative thing as well. Because this is the year where you could really just put your blinders and your blinkers on and you could literally shut everyone and everything out. And the danger of that obviously is then when you look up and you've already isolated yourself and pushed everybody away, it can then be quite hard to kind of reel them back in. So if you've got partners, if you've got a team that you work for or with or in, check in with these people, let them know that these things that you're doing at the moment are important and that's why you're spending time on them. That's why you're putting so much effort and energy into it. Checking in with people is going to be really important. Single-minded as well. You could almost get into this place of, well, this is how it's going to be. There is no room for plan A or plan B. Miranda from The Devil Wears Prada, I've always said she's either a Capricorn or a life path 4, or she's in a personal year 4, because that's her. There is no plan B. There's just plan A. So consider that this year, because you could become a bit of a ball buster in that respect. Lack humour. right? This whole thing about serious, but you could know that things are funny and you could find them funny and you might sort of have a little giggle, but that'll be as far as it goes. You're not necessarily seeking pleasure this year. There might not be a lot of room for it, and that could be a real challenge. You know, very often because of the work, the discipline, the focus, the energy that's needed to create structures, to work within them, to be organized, there doesn't tend to be a lot of time left over for holidays or, you know, weekend breaks or anything like that. You know, you've had that in the 3-year, and the 5-year will bring you the bigger, more sort of travel. But your 4-year, this is a year to put your feet on the ground. You need to find ways of doing that where you can still incorporate humor into your life, because it's going to keep you young, and ultimately it's going to keep you from, you know, being a bit of a stick in the mud. Dismissive. This year you could, again, you know, this whole idea of, is it important? No. Is it getting me closer to my goal? No. Is it, you know, is this person the sort of person that I feel is going to get me closer to what it is that I'm trying to achieve? No. You know, you could find that you're very cut and dry this year. And again, that can be very beneficial, especially, you know, this is how 4s get shit done, right? They are very good at prioritizing. This could teach you that, but if you let it go too far and it becomes unconscious, it becomes a lesson, and the lesson is not to be dismissive, because you don't know, the thing or the person that you're dismissing could actually be one of the resources that you need to get there, and possibly in a faster manner, right? I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but it's worth mentioning now. This year, you have to do everything right and by the book. You have to do it properly the first time round, because otherwise it's going to create issues later on. Stubborn, I don't really need to say much on that, but yes, you can find yourself being very stubborn, very hard-headed this year. Consider that, because at some point you may need outside assistance, right? Inflexible. You know, the 4 is really rigid. When it's stuck, when it's stubborn, when it refuses to budge, it's like trying to move the foundations of the earth. It's just not going to happen. Find ways this year of understanding that some of the goals and the missions that we have are the same as the people that we work with, people that we love, people that we care about. And providing you do that, you might not necessarily need to flex too much, but you do need to find a little bit of leeway in there. All right, and then workaholic. This year you could be so single-minded, so focused, so drilled down, knuckled down and focused and disciplined and determined with the stuff that you want to do or create, that you could literally just become a workaholic this year. And the thing is, you won't notice it. You know, you won't notice that you stayed, you know, that you arrived to work an hour early, or, you know, started work 2 hours early, or that you left 2 hours later, you know, that you're still working when you get home, and, you know, you're not really eating your dinner, you're just kind of inhaling your food while you're still, you know, and you won't notice it that much. It will be other people that point this out to you. So consider that this year. So your 4-year, what is the 4-year a year to do or to be or to work with? This year you've got to be in your integrity, right? This is paramount. This is actually, this and the key piece of advice are 2 of the big things that you need to know in the 4-year, right? So you've got to be in your integrity. It will command and demand that from you. It's a year to knuckle down and work hard. This is it, right? The 4 is all about hard work. It's about being focused. It's about being practical. It's about being present with everything that you do. This is a year for you to pay attention to your health. Those 4 things that we talked about. We all know this stuff, right? We all know that. Drink lots of water, get lots of rest, you know, eat a healthy diet, make sure you exercise. We all know this stuff. But in the 4-year, you have the energy to do it. And if you set that in place in the 4-year, not only can it become a lifetime habit, but more importantly, it will have pretty much immediate results. You know, you'll start to feel the benefit of it. And then when you start to peter off and think, oh, well, now I've done that for a while, I'll stop doing it, you'll notice that you start to slide again. It requires you to do these things consistently, and that's when you get the results. to be very organized and think everything through. This is a time for you to plan, to look at what it is that you're doing or implementing and ask yourself, is this going to get me to where I want to be? Is it serving the higher purpose for whatever it is that I'm trying to build or whatever it is that I'm trying to do? To discover if your plans will hold water. I like this one, because it really is that, right? You can build anything that you want to this year. The energy is there for it. But then eventually, once you've built something, you have to test it. You have to see if it's going to stand the test of time. You have to see if you've built a bucket, right? Or you've made or fabricated a bucket. You then have to fill that bucket with water or stuff to see if it holds, right? To see if it does what it says on the tin. That is a really big tagline for this year as well. Anything that you put out, anything that you offer the world, anything that you put forward in your job, this year, it needs to do what it says on the tin. If it doesn't, you will be caught out, and the consequences could be, you know, not to fearmonger, but the consequences can sometimes be quite harsh. Even if you think to yourself like, wow, you know what, that's not really proportionate, like I made a mistake. Because this year requires that discipline and focus and thinking things through and being meticulous. And the reason you need to do those things is because this year is the year of the test. Will you stand up for it? Do you stand behind the things that you put out, the things that you create? If you don't, why should anybody else? And these things come around very quickly in a 4-year. Slow down and take life more seriously. So I talked about this earlier, and it really is a year to slow it down. The 3-year is very sort of fast, social butterfly-y, flitty. The 5-year is very fast, dynamic and vibrant and sensual, but the 4-year, this is where you have to be present, you have to be focused, you've got to be in this year, and you need to slow down and take life more seriously to really figure out what is it that I want to do, how are the plans that I've already got in place going to get me to where I want to be, and if they're not, what do I need to change, what do I need to rectify now to ensure my future success. Take good care of your body. Go to a massage therapist. Find a good massage therapist throughout your 4-year. Find a good chiropractor. Find a good osteopath. Any type of body work, any type of energy work as well. You know, your Reiki, your massage, your all of these things where you're looking after all of the integral systems of the body this year are very favored. Really think about your body. This year is the year to make your body your temple. It really is. If you pay attention to it and you give it all of those 4 things that we talked about that we all know we need and should do more often, the results will be wondrous, really. A time to give form and shape to all of your ideas. I love this. So whatever you've kind of planted the seeds of in the 1 year, and then they kind of cracked open in the 2 year, and then they started seeking the light and burst through the soil, and then in the 4 year, this is where it starts to grow and starts to bloom. And this is where you can start to give form to those things. You might start to see some smaller, but you might start to see some of the results of things that you've already started to put in. Build a schedule for everything. And I mean everything, for meal times, meal plans, meal budgets, financial budgets, factoring in time to rest, factoring in time to go to the massage thing. Incorporate all of this stuff into your routine so that your routine and your organization looks like what you want it to look like. That's the hack for this year. The hack for this year is definitely create a routine that has everything you have to do in it, but also has bits of what you would like to do and incorporate, and put it in the routine. That way you can kind of sneak some sort of leisurely stuff in without it being sort of like, well, you know, you're enjoying yourself too much, I'm going to retract that. So, you know, consider that. It's a good time for you to be disciplined, good for diet, good for bodybuilding, for weight training, all of this sort of stuff. Obviously check with your doctor to make sure that you're healthy and fit and all the rest of it. But yeah, this is a great time to build your body. It's a great time to tone and hone and shape your form, you know, to really look at the structure and all of that sort of stuff. It's a brilliant year for all of that. Start things that you want to see through to completion. This is the year to do that. If you've got things that are hanging around, this is kind of the fix it or forget it year. This is the year where you say, right, okay, am I serious about finishing this or completing this? If not, I cut it loose so that I can focus on the things that I know I'm going to put my energy into and that I know I'm actually going to want to build for the longer term. Dedicate yourself to everything that you do. If you find within you the spirit, if you find within you the spirit of determination and dedication, you know, almost that sense of devotion to anything that you do, if you put that kind of energy into it, the results and the rewards that you get out of it will be absolutely phenomenal. Be decisive, be resolute, right? Do what you say you're going to do. Stand by your word, right? This is the year to be in your integrity. So if you want to do something or you say you're going to do something, especially where other people of a professional, academic, platonic, familial, you know, all across the board, work, professional, all of it, partner, whatever you say you're going to do, be sure that you can deliver, because this year you will be expected to. And if you don't, again, the consequences could be a lot harsher than the mistake or the forgetful thing that the thing that you forget. This is a year to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty and do the work, right? Really, this is a brilliant year to start a study program, especially something that's long-term, like a degree or a doctorate or anything of that nature. It's a brilliant year for that, because you're setting the intention in the 4 year that this is the foundation that I build on, and I now set out to complete this thing. It's a brilliant year for that. Wish I'd known that. Be firm with yourself and others. Know your boundaries. Really, this is a year for you to draw a circle or a square around yourself, and to really, anything or anyone that tries to impose on you or to step on your toes or to breach your boundaries, this is the year for you to stand strong. And you'll find that you naturally have the energy for that, which is great, right? Because it means it comes easy and you don't have to fight for it so much. Do any course correction that you might need. Anything that you put out, be sure that it does what it says on the tin. I've already talked about that. Whatever you do, do it right and above board and by the book the first time round. Don't start something and say, oh, you know what, I'll make sure that it's up to scratch, eventually. Make sure it's up to scratch now, right? The same detail, care and attention that you put into the first part of whatever you do should be the same detail, care and attention that you put into the very last part of it to close it off. Everything that you do must be done by the book, above board, focused, disciplined this year. Really good piece of information for your 4 year, for any energy of the 4 year. So even for the year 2020, this is a year for you to over deliver, or this is a year for you to under promise and over deliver. That is a secret for this year, right? If you say that you're going to do something and you go above and beyond that in what you deliver, maybe not immediately, but the results from that will really be long lasting. It will be something that really sticks with people. So consider that this year. This is not a year for changing jobs. If you're in a 4 year, especially in the year of a 4 energy, so if you're having a 4 year this year in particular at the time I'm filming this, or some later date in the future and you're watching this, if it's a 4 year, a double 4 year for you, do not change your job. Even if you dislike it, stick it out this year. If you're, morbidly unhappy and depressed and stuff, obviously you need to consider that, don't put your health at risk. But for the most part, this is a year to stick it out. And if you do so, the rewards at the end will be truly, truly great. Trust me for that. I know that. All right. Constancy and consistency are going to be required from you this year. So, your key piece of advice, I've already mentioned before, do everything by the book. Lies, deceit, even thrift, all of that sort of stuff. The energy is just not there for it in a 4 year, right? You can't cut corners. This is a year where you have to take the long route. This is a year where you have to take the long and play the long game, right? Anyone that tries to take corners, try to cut corners or tries to cut costs or anything like that this year, you will just get found out. Don't waste your time. Don't, have to backtrack or anything like that. Do it right the first time round and you will sail through, trust me. With that said, that is your 4 year in a nutshell. There's so much more that I could say, but for the sake of not having really, really long videos where people are like, okay, Raf, I'm done. I switched off now. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Let me know in the comments, how is your 4 year going so far? At whatever point you watch this, whether it's this week, this year, this day, this month, or some far-flung time in the future, let me know in the comments below how it's going for you and how you perceive this 4 year energy is working out for you. Now that you're forewarned and forearmed, you are really at liberty to make this year your best yet. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Take care, and I'll see you soon.